And for me, I had this fear that I look like a flake because I have
Mm.
had jobs within, PR, within video, within journalism. Like I've had all these jobs, but it wasn't adding up to like a career or a progression. And I had a boss say, I knew I could get you for cheap.
This is Celi Arias and Liddy coming to you live because we're doing a takeover. And we're doing a takeover because this is Emily Reagan's 200th episode. And she came to us and said, what fun thing could I do to celebrate my 200th episode of my podcast? And we decided, what if we do a takeover and we ask you all about your journey and you teach us how in the world you do it? How have you done it?
I had my dream job finally. Like we moved every 1, 2, 3 years. I was always starting over. It was really hard to build a network from nothing, be the military spouse that everybody can look at your resume and tell you're a military spouse. And I had kind of like a downer moment when we were last stationed in Oklahoma City. And I saw, because I went to college there and I came back and I saw like my doctor friends just like progressing and like buying the house and building the pools. And I'm like, I just keep starting over and I can't ever get anyone to pay me more than $40,000. And I've done very well at getting jobs, but it's like piecemeal and putting it together. And, I finally got my dream job as a PR director, a communications director at a nonprofit. We had a budget, we had a very active board, and it made my job so fun. And I found out I was pregnant the first full week on the job. We ended up getting orders. And so when my son was about 9 months old, so I was in the job again, 18 months, we had to leave. And I just thought, I cannot do this again. I'm tired. I'm tired. And we were moving to Washington, D.C. I'm like, very Debbie Downer voice, like, you can't learn a new media market in Washington, D.C. as a nobody, right? And so I hung up my hat and decided to be a stay at home mom. But like in that process, I had people in Oklahoma City who were noticing me and asking me to do work for them. And so I would just be like, sure, sure. And then charge a really stupid low amount of rate. And then that's how I started my freelance career. And it
Mhm.
was just kind of saying yes to little jobs and having no vision that this could be a real business, that I was undercharging. I just was happy to make some cash to go get my nails done or get a babysitter.
How long did you do that for?
Ooh, so I had to leave. I left my job in 2010. So I really started freelancing. I say in my bio, like 2009. It probably
Uh,
really started in 2007, writing some press releases.
Like,
Yeah.
did you have this moment in your career where you're like, hold on a second, I'm supposed to do this because this is my superpower? Did you ever have that?
I have a story about this, and I think my audience can relate because a lot of us have tried different things. We're like, why did that not
Mhm.
work out? And for me, I had this fear that I look like a flake because I have
Mm.
had jobs within, PR, within video, within journalism. Like I've had all these jobs, but it wasn't adding up to like a career or a progression. And I had a boss say, I knew I could get you for cheap. And he meant that in the nicest way, that other people would not see the value of my adaptability and my resume and all my experience. They would look and be like, we don't know who she is. She's just going to move. He saw my resume and he's like, damn, I'm going to get her. And it was a nonprofit. They didn't have a big budget. So, he's like, good, like I can scoop her up. No one else will see this. And so that shifted a lot for me. And something I do teach, my students is like your comfort with ambiguity, your ability to rise up to challenges and be adaptable is actually your strongest soft skill. Some
Beautiful.
people will look at that, especially, a older generation will look at that resume and be like, oh my God, you're not loyal. You didn't stay there. I'm like, actually, it shows you that I'm like really fucking good.
This is kind of what you teach people to do. It seems like you've created this way of taking your own experience of that and fear of looking like a flake and actually using that to empower people to use their skills and create a business. Is that what
Yeah.
you would say kind of inspired it, or how do you think
Because
about
I
it?
saw my friends, especially when we were living outside Miami in South Florida. It was really hard for us non-Spanish speakers to get jobs. And we were like military spouses, we were very underemployed there. And I was looking around at my friends. I'm like, these are really smart women. Like I had a couple engineer friends, like, and so I was looking around at my friends just thinking, wow, if I just got her up to speed with what's happening online, like we could take her engineer brain, she can be a launch manager, a business manager, and she's good to go
We
because
could
she
take
has
over the
the work
world.
ethic. Yeah. And so then I was like, well, what do I call this? Like all of us have something special and unique. Like we're all special snowflakes. And then that's where the joke, the unicorn came up. I'm like, my program is almost a course that gives people confidence. It's like a launch pad, but you don't know where it's going to take you. And that makes it hard to market because I'm like, you might not actually end up a marketing assistant. You might actually do something completely different.
So, Emily, this big question came up when Celi and I were talking because your kids are little. We need to know, how are you really doing this? How has this impacted your business and your journey? And how do you help people in your clientele do this too?
Oh my goodness. I don't know how I did it. It's such a blur. And I know when I first started, like I would do my work in the evenings. I remember being pregnant and doing like Pinterest marketing, like in front of the television, like with the computer on my belly. And I would just work in the cracks of mom time. My firstborn was an early riser, but like he would play pretty well in the morning. So I would like squeeze in here and I would squeeze in here. And it's not sustainable, but it got me there and it got me going. And so I want to put it out there. And I think moms with little toddlers have it the hardest. This is also why I like marketing because it's flexible. I did a lot of Pinterest clients when I had the three little toddlers, and that was flexible. Like I could get ahead and it wasn't a burning fire. Like I would never be a launch manager right now with a baby on my hip. And then the second you're counting on that nap, that like
And they don't nap
wonderful,
anymore.
like mystical 3 hour nap, like that you can't count on that. It's happens. So yeah, and then eventually I started leaning into paying for childcare. I started getting some help, but I did tell you I started putting Winnie, my fourth, in daycare when she was 1, which was the
Mhm.
earliest I'd ever done with my kids because I felt a lot of guilt. Like I felt like guilt because I had a stay-at-home mom and she expected me to do that. And I was really at a tough place when I found out I was pregnant because I love my job. I didn't want to abandon that. And I
Mhm.
wanted my kids active. And for being a military kid, it's very important that I explore my areas with the kids and we have fun and we go to museums and we go to parks and I'm like very hands-on. It's very important to me. And I feel like I kind of cracked the code for doing both. And I think that kind of goes with my personality of like non-committal. Like how can
Like
I
go with
have
the flow.
yeah, how can I have mutually exclusive things?
I think like basically your answer is like, I have had to give myself permission to do what freaking works for me. And I think that's the best thing we can do for all of us, especially when it comes to our businesses too. What is coming for you in 2024 and 2025 that you're either like seeking beyond? We know that the stage is one of them, changing or letting go.
Two things I'm excited about. One of them is like the idea of writing a book. And not the kind of book where I want to be Amazon bestseller, but just getting things out the process, like basically my info session, how to become a virtual assistant. Like I'm thinking about putting that in a book format, kind of like a book funnel, but like, you know me, I'm very tactical. I would like to have that out there. And I feel like if I can educate people about their options and then they choose marketing, they'll like come to me naturally, right? Such a projector. And the other thing I'm really excited about, and I don't know if I'm like jumping the gun on this, but in my head, floating around the last like 7, 8 months, I've been thinking about like, how can I be a contributing writer? And I
Mm.
think the journalist in me is like, okay, I don't know if I'm like checking myself right now. Is this an ego thing? Is this like help the world thing? Where is this coming from? Is this actually something you need to take on? Because I will have to let other things go. And I have Business Insider paying me for my first article. And I'm hoping I can pitch them again and just like see where it goes. It just seems fun to me right now, and I'm trying to just lean into what feels fun.
I love it. I think you're a percolator. You're like a crock pot.
I think here's the thing. I've been inside so many businesses and help people and work with so many clients who like give me whiplash, like changing their
Oh
priorities
yeah.
and
Mhm.
Mhm.
facing things. And I'm like, I just don't want to do that to myself. I don't have time. I'm like a mom of 4. I do physically do not have time to go down the wrong roads. And that doesn't mean I'm not afraid to fail. I just really don't want to build something or work on something that doesn't make sense right now.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I am giving myself time and I don't want to do what everyone else is doing.
All right. Anything else that we didn't think to say that you wanted to just say on the 200th episode of your podcast?
It's so funny. I was telling Jen on Voxer, I didn't want a podcast because I didn't want to do what everyone else is doing. And I called my Facebook Live show the anti podcast because I wanted more of a conversation.
Mm.
And I was working with a client who was a very good talking head, like building a different type of business based on her strengths, like thinking that's how I had to do it. And I had such like internal, like I'm very much a resistance girl. I'm like, I just need to do things my own way. And so it is funny that I launched this podcast during the pandemic, but like I didn't think I had a voice. I didn't really think I had to say anything that really mattered. I didn't think I could build the audience that some of my clients had done. And I just want to like celebrate with you guys here that I did it. I did do it. I pushed myself, and a lot of it was really truly the why of my children and wanting a future and wanting to be able to independently take care of them outside of the Air Force. And when you asked me how I did it, it was like that. It was that raw mama bear moment
Mhm.
that I am going to figure this out.